Let's go.
This is Queens County Farm Museum. This parcel of land has been farmed continuously since 1697, so it's one of the oldest continuously farmed sites in the state of New York. The whole parcel is 47 acres. It encompasses the house in the front, which is a museum, the grounds, which are open to the public. Currently, the land is owned by the New York City Department of Parks and Recreation, and our nonprofit that we work for leases the land from the city. So over the years, it's sort of shifted hands and landed at its current iteration in the 1970s, and now it's a nonprofit that employs 60 to 80 people depending on the time of year and puts on events and festivals. Plus we grow food on about 6 acres that we sell at the farm stand on the front. So it's very multifaceted, a lot of moving parts and departments and things going on, and it's a lot of things all at once.
Over the history of the farm, it went through a couple different families, and eventually it was in the hands of New York State Department of, I think, Health and Mental Hygiene. There was a psychiatric hospital, and it was a work farm. So patients of the hospital worked the farm and grew food for themselves and the staff that worked at the hospital. And then in the early 1970s, the state was looking to sell off the land, and there was a local group that organized to prevent the land from being developed into high rises. The land wasn't zoned at the time, and so they really wanted to keep Queens not with multi-unit housing, and so they rallied around that to get that farmhouse and some of the surrounding areas landmarked with the New York City. And then through that and through an act of legislation, the nonprofit was formed and the land was preserved for historical and agricultural purposes. And since then, the farm and its operations and its services that it offers to the public have been expanding.
This farm, the scale of it and operationally, it's quite similar to a more rural farm, if that makes sense. In terms of production methods, equipment we use, the way we use our labor. We work in the agriculture department, so we're really just in charge of anything that relates to growing food or caring for animals. We grow like 100 different types of vegetables. We grow flowers to support pollinators. A lot of our crop decisions are based on what's seasonally possible here and also what sells well. We do have a corn maze, so it's not corn for food, it's just carved into a maze, so that sort of falls under the event side. So we do plant it, the agriculture team, but once it becomes a maze, it's in the hands of the events department. They sell tickets and people can go in. So it's sort of like agro-tourism, it's popular in the fall.
The agricultural aspects of the farm, it serves a lot of purposes. It's a platform for much of the educational programming that happens at Queens Farm. So having the growing fields and the animals around, that way when a lot of school groups come through, they have educators that take them on guided tours of the grounds, and they can discuss how plants grow, how the food that they're eating grows, where it comes from. Where we are currently located in far eastern Queens, it is a little bit of a food desert. Until very recently, there wasn't a grocery store within walking distance for most people in this area. So we have people that use the farm stand that's open 5 days a week as their main source of fresh produce. Also, what we do at the farm stand is we partner with different organizations. On certain days we have a representative from EBT, which is subsidized income for eligible families, so that they can use that money that they're provided to buy fresh, delicious and nutritious vegetables. We partner with Northwell Health, which is a hospital group. They do once a month healthy cooking demos so that people that come to the farm stand have the ability to not only buy the food, but then taste and learn how to cook it in healthy ways. And then we also have an off-site farm stand once a week at Jamaica Hospital. So the goal is really to grow these vegetables and provide them to our community and other communities in Queens that don't have access to that resource.
because we're a nonprofit, funding, being able to keep a balanced budget and think about raises for staff and like retaining staff, that's hard every year here. And I think being so far out in Queens, it makes it challenging for folks who live in the city to get here. We're not reaching everyone we can, I think, simply because of our location. There's not public transit that's great out here. You know, there's only buses, there's not trains. So that's challenging for access.
Because we are open to the public, there's certain activities that we have to be mindful of when we're doing it and for how long. We are in the process of hopefully transitioning into a less tractor-reliant production methods, but we do use our tractors for cultivation and for other things like cleaning up. But we don't want to be doing that when there's large groups of students and children around. You know, in the fall and our busy season, there's days when we have several hundred kids on many, many different group tours. And so we have to sort of orient our day in a way that is not disruptive to them, and that in the process can be a little bit disruptive to what we're doing. Recognizing that our goals aren't necessarily the only thing going on, and being mindful in organizing our schedule in a way that acknowledges everyone else's goals on the site. I also worked for another nonprofit that has much smaller operations throughout the city. A couple on rooftops, one small in the soil, and another one in raised beds. And I think land is so expensive here that you rarely come across an opportunity like our site where we are operating entirely in soil on such a scale. It's kind of bizarre. So I think where the opportunities exist, it's much more community-focused, small, partnering with neighborhood organizations, schools, senior centers. Whereas out here, it can feel to some extent a little bit disconnected from the urban part of it.
Yeah, I guess being this far out, we don't function in an urban sort of way. We have a lot of farmers that come work here who are from the city who want to learn to farm at this scale and like learn skills like driving a tractor, which you're not going to learn on an urban farm. It's great to be able to provide that to New York City residents to like learn about this scale and have different opportunities. The biggest thing we can do here is educate the public, which we do through events and programs and just our farm stand, talking to people. We take volunteers so they get to like work in the field with us.
People are deeply disconnected from food production and how it grows. Seasonality, like we get questions, do you have strawberries? And it's, October, yeah. And it's, or all sorts of things, like, it's April, and it's like, when are you gonna have tomatoes? You're gonna have tomatoes next week. Right now we're harvesting our melons, and it's like, it's only going to be for a couple short weeks. When we have strawberries, it's really only a couple short weeks, and it's so easy to forget how fleeting some of these things are. Our contemporary supermarket model is deeply disconnected from the realities of seasonality and northern farming. It's so visible at the supermarket, it's all around you, but it's at the same time completely hidden and obscured how it actually arrives. And so being able to give people that first-hand experience of this is how it grows, how you pick it, this is what it looks like at the farm stand, it's eye-opening for a lot of people.
We recently had a couple of U.S. congressmen out here, which was kind of cool. And one last year helped us secure a pretty significant grant from the federal government, which was great. It was an equipment sort of grant. It's great just to see that local elected officials are invested in this place. They want to see it thrive. They want to see it succeed. And they're willing to kind of like put their money where their mouths are. So that's great.
We host volunteers every Tuesday in the morning and afternoon, and then once a month on Sundays. Someone volunteered yesterday and she just had her nails done, and it was a very expensive nail, and so she just she's like, oh gosh, the timing of this was terrible. I guess it speaks back to that disconnect of not understanding or not appreciating how physically labor intensive it is just to grow things.